So one of the first things that we did in SilverLining in our policy advocacy in the United States, we talked to agency leaders about what would be most helpful if there was a bit more money to look at the atmosphere. What would be the top priority? And one of the top priorities that came through from NOAA was, to reinstantiate these sampling flights to the stratosphere. That was during the last Trump administration, all Republican Congress with Republicans and Democrats working together to say, we think that it's important to, modestly add to our funding and capabilities for looking at the stratosphere and the role of aerosols in the atmosphere, because that role is changing with pollution of various kinds, including in the stratosphere, and that people are proposing to add aerosols to the stratosphere to cool the planet, and maybe for other reasons. And when we had those conversations, it was not a hard argument to make that having baseline measurements so that we would be able to know and project if someone was adding aerosols to the stratosphere or the atmosphere, that we would have the information tools that we need. So we got good cooperation on that, and those flights restarted under the SABRE program in NOAA. And they've since made 2 flights to the stratosphere, one to the tropics and one to the Arctic. And that was a profoundly useful thing to do because the composition of the stratosphere has changed since the 90s. There's new pollution there from wildfires, from air and space traffic, even from satellites disintegrating that are leaving trace metallics in the stratosphere. And so all of that is really important to get an ongoing baseline of what the stratosphere looks like now if people are thinking about making large additions of material to the stratosphere to cool the planet, which is an area that we work on too. So we think that now, it's a really interesting time because the U.S. has still the world's capabilities for the most part for reaching the stratosphere, the satellite instruments that look at the stratosphere, but they're aging out. And they're additionally in a kind of an immediate risk status because, politically, whether their support continues is a question. And so we're trying to make sure people understand it's in everyone's interests, U.S. national security, global cooperation, ongoing continuity of data, that we have the continuity of the things that we do have, and that we have good plans for having enough information going forward.